up to the end of Siv Gimel. I just want to point out the Pesach Tshuva. It says in the end of Siv Gimel again, if you want to see it inside. We don't suffer from this nowadays, but in Europe, before the war, and this was unfortunately in many places, even by the Sfardim. And I was told, it says in the Remur, Shis, you have it? Which page is it? Wait for the Rabbi. It's the end of Siv Gimel. You don't have the copy there? Yeah. So I just want to point out something important thing we spoke about last week. So let me just go over it again. It says the shis permission shenus namer was manazeh einiklem. You know, the government would appoint a dayan, but that's worthless. It's nothing. Government cannot appoint a dayan. He says, "Mi in kabliya kul." If the kul accepted it, you know, al pi ksav melech yuchaluden. Yes, he could judge. That means even though it was pushed down the throat, as we say now, that you could. Okay, the Yashomrim, the Mguvus Summa Mahala the Shisa Malach Oisamin Bida Zeb Chaldina Mechisadina. Loishiv Dayanim, Bishoifte Mishirza. So he says another thing that the second opinion holds, that even though we don't want it, you have it, Rabbi say. If the king or the governor appointed a judge, if he really knows his stuff, the appointment is an appointment. Okay, so last week I said over a very famous sefer, which sefer made a big tumult, and he said, and explained that when the Ramu said Dina Machisa Dina, they could appoint a judge if they pay for him. But they have Dina Machisa cannot tell you who to use for the cleaners, cannot tell us who to use for a shoemaker. So maybe they cannot tell us you must use this judge and pay for it. If the government pays for it, like all judges is paid by the government, okay, then Dina Machisa Dina could say if it's Guma V'Sumer, even though the Ramu says you used litness adin if you finish the Ramah, used litness adin, but the same thing in Israel, I was told, nothing, I'm not familiar, so I don't want any Israelis to gang up on me, but I was told that Rabbanut, very often people get appointed, sometimes pulled, right? Is it true?
But you think that's true?
What?
They get paid.
They get paid, but it's pulled. They're trying to stop it, anyways. But if a person, anyways, there has to be Guma V'Sover. That's the first thing. Even if it's Guma V'Sover, then, but only if the government pays for it. But in Europe, in Hungary, and many other places in Europe, it was the ghetto people had to pay for it. And the guy had that wasn't, you have no right. There's no din b'chisadin about that. Now I want you to look in the Pesach Shiva. Os Ches. I don't know how your print have a different print.
It's on the left side.
Os Ches.
The bottom, right? The bottom.
Same page. Pesach Shiva. Yeah. The Pesach Tshuva is in the bottom, yeah, but in the left.
Right under the shot, yes.
Okay.
Right under the shot. Yes.
So it says in Pesach I am the Sefer Urim V'Tumim. I don't know, the Urim V'Tumim was the Bionis and Eibshitz. He lived right before the Baal Shem Tov. Shekusa shoi b'cheirem b'rebbeini tam v'reshbam v'raven v'kuv nin rabunim. 150 rabbanim got together and made a cheirem. They said, "V'chivas Avraham b'reburich," he quotes, "B'soifoi, b'kunis b'beini tam, chivas Avraham mints," and it shows that the boy is saying Rabban Poshnei Tzamar has b'zmaneni v'chol arbun has b'as geder. The kitzer, there was a cheirem that you're not allowed to go to the government and put pressure on to make you a rav, to make you the
It was on the person who's
trying to do it. It was a cheirem. So someone told me many years ago, and I'm trying to remember who told it to me. Why doesn't the Ramu bring this cheirem? The Ramu always brings this thing. Ramu didn't want to bring the cheirem because of the censors. Because you bring this that it's worthless. This was printed in Europe, and it's in his times Europe. This was a problem. But there was a cheirem Rabbein Tam and the Rishbam and all the Gedolim that a person would go to the government and have himself appointed against the even his going over summer, and just saying, when I was young, I had this romantic feeling. Probably the times that being Tam and Drishbam, everything was nice, sweet. Only trade you crazy. The craziness was always there. The crime and crazy people, Mishiguim, the society always had those people. And it was some tazach, I'm going to point out over here. Okay, now Simon Dalet, we once learned over here before, just bekitzer, and Shulchan Charav and Hilchos Chosh Mishpat is one of the things he points out, and it's very, very, very much negeya. And so let's learn it again. So the Mechaber Yuchal Udam Lasis Din Latzmoy, person to take the law into his hands, Rabbi say. Imroya Shaloi Biyadeachar, someone who has his object, she goes loy, he stole it from him, Yuchal Lekachtoi, Yehuda, he can take it away from his hand. Ve'em Acha Oimikana Yuchal HaKoisoi, Achenichani, you can beat him up till it lets you. I always had the question, how much you ought to beat him? You know what I mean? Yeah, well, so it break both legs. Yeah? So you're allowed to hit him, till he lets you go do it. Only if you cannot do it any other way. Yeah, that's the Ramah. Yeah, but everyone agrees. Everyone agrees to that. Everyone agrees to that. It's based on the Gemara. Fudish Gemara, that's only allowed to hit if you know. But it's very interesting. A guy wants to take my object, or he has my object, or it doesn't have to be his object. If you learn the Gemara, it's Daf Kuf Ches and Bava Kama, the story was the farmers took turns when the water to come. I think the first day of the week was the guy, they took turns. The guy took away a turn. It's not really his. So the guy was banging him away, hitting him, till he, closes the water, So you see, that's called Don Dina Denafshe. You could take the law in your hands, but it's only if as soon as it's only if your object is yours. So the famous question that I had so many times, a guy doesn't want to leave the house. I mentioned this before. Mishuluchim come, and they come to the wealthy house. Recently a guy told me a Mishulach wanted $7,000. And he gave him, I think, $50. He wasn't going to, Geinish, I said, Yiddish, I'm not leaving, $7,000. So the most poskim held, you're allowed to take a bat and tell him, get out of here, I'll break your legs.
You're allowed to actually break his legs.
Not break, you have to give him one zetz. If he doesn't go, a harder zetz. You gotta. The crazy thing about life is that then you could be called, you could be arrested. I was told, yes, right?
If you hit someone that's in your house,
you could be arrested.
Depends if
That's
he's
what someone told me.
you or not. Depends how big of a threat he is to you.
No threat, I just want him out.
If he's on your,
You can't hit him.
Right, I was told. Someone told me you can't hit him, you could be arrested. Is that true?
Depends where, that's why. You can't pull a gun and shoot a guy in the head. No.
Yeah, but he doesn't want to leave. He's not just
You
saying.
can't shoot him. Could you push this? Yes, you can. There's reasonable force. You can't, but it depends on the situation, it depends on anything.
That's reasonable for us.
If someone comes in in a threatening manner, you can use threat, any sort
No threaten. He's a meshulach. He sat down. I don't want to. Just want. But anyways, you're allowed to call the police. The guy doesn't want to leave. You're allowed to call the police.
There's no problem getting outside forces involved.
Yeah, that's for sure. You don't have to wait and go to Bezdin. But usually, you just tell them I'm calling the police. It works usually. Okay. Now I want to tell you a cute story. It's such an annoying story that it's embarrassing. The older I get, when I say the story, I look back. It happened so many years ago. A Rav calls me up. Not Rav. He's a Klei Kodesh. Calls me up that this rich guy came to his backyard and stole the bike.
A rich guy
Yeah.
stole.
The son's bike. So he didn't say, but stole the bike. And I was like, so I asked him,
Why? Where? Who?
What's the details?
it's as a Rav, you have to, if you're anyone, if there's a lawyer, lawyers know how to do this well. The guy tells you a story, you have to remember there's another side to the story, and the other side of the story could be a different story. It turned out that wasn't the story. The rich man, sent his son to a camp, And then the friend said, "Can I use the bike for the summer?" I said, "Yes." He called him up. The son came home. Ain't koi vein oine. 1 day, 2 day, 3rd day, father went, and there was no one home. He flipped over the fence, opened the door, took the bike. So he asked me, "I stole the bike." So when when I went back there, I remember asking, "What do you mean?" Well, he had no permission. I says, don't dine the nafshe. He could have broken the fence down if the only way to get in is just take the bike. I mean, it's amazing sometimes how people look at things. But
You gotta go to a rub and say, "Hey, some guy took my bike. It's not your bike. It's his bike."
yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's such an embarrassing story, how he presented the story to me.
If he broke the fence, would he have to pay?
No. Let's say the only way to get in, the only way is to break down the fence. He's allowed to break the fence to get in, to get his bike. The fence could cost him $10,000 to fix. My bike is $100. I'm sorry, I could break the fence to get my bike.
So you can't go into the person's house.
Yeah, you could. You can.
Your money.
To get your object, and even though it's going to break the door, it's your object. If he stole it, he doesn't return it, you're not allowed to do it. Filler do a shame by hefset. Even something there's no hefset, there's no loss. Im yamtin, if he's going to wait achim deni bedin. There's no loss. I don't have a good motion. Let's say the bike, his son is not home yet, but he decided to take it back. There's no hefset, nothing. And the guy doesn't want to give it, you could, say, well, there's no hefset, there's no loss, wait till you come to Bezdin.
Wait, but can you do something that has no value? He has my shmata.
Doesn't make a difference, yes, it's
There's
yours.
no value, no one cares about it.
Yeah, well, if it's yours, it's yours. There's nothing, yours is yours. We don't. He says, that means, now, the Chabad says you could only do it if a lady could prove that this is yours. You hear what I'm saying? Let's say the bike. He should able to prove later. Now, the Shach adds a very important nekuda. That's only if you take it in front of Edom. If you don't take it in front of Edom, you'll be Naman in Bezdin with a migi. They never took it. You know what migi means? Rabbi say, I could come to Bezdin, and Bezdin will trust that I took mine, because if I'm a liar, I could have said, I took nothing. There's no video camera. What is it called? CTC. There's no Edom. There's no nothing. The person is Naman with a migi. So that's what it means.
How is this coming in here, middle of what we're learning?
This is Dayanim. It's Don, Dina, the Nafshe.
Oh, this is you being the diner.
Being the Dain,
You take your law.
take the law in your hand. How you say in English? Take the law into your hands. Don, Dina, the Nafshe.
So if you're breaking into the house, do you need
No, if there's Adam that you, let's say the bike. If that guy later is going to claim it's not my bike, I cannot take it in front of Adam because in front of Adam. But if not in front of Adam, just take the bike. And later he's going to scream, "Why did you take the bike?" Then it's mine. But I'm making. But you have to know this is the truth. You have to
be able to prove that it's your
yeah, but only if you take in front of Adam. Yes.
What if it's a case where it's not necessarily a theft we're dealing with, but just the chavetz was left at the house, just left. What it's like forgot. It was a lot my wallet and with a lot of money in it. It was definitely all this money while there.
Yeah, the same idea. Same idea. The guy doesn't want to return it. You're not going to. You call him up. I left the coat there, and he made a shop zocher, and he doesn't make a difference on people anything. I call him up, and the guy, says,
But if he took your bike and you go there and your bike is gone, you can't take his bike.
no, we're going to learn that in a minute. Right? No, that will learn in a minute. You can't do that. Right?
Then you have to take him to Bezdin to get the...
Right. That's a separate halacha. Remember, we spoke about it so often. You cannot take a mashkin for a choy without the shus bezdin. Okay, we're going to learn that. Hopefully, we get that. We spoke about it. You could only take a talus that's on the table. Guy left his talus in the shul. You could take the talus. I don't know. Some of you were not here last week. I'll tell you what happened last week. There was 2 weeks ago, a guest over here, got I don't know the right word in English, But anyways, someone called him by his first name, so the Rav gave him a patch in a Kiddush, two patch. So he came to me on Shabbos, I want to take him to the Torah. Remember, we learned in the beginning, we had this, that Bezdin would put him into Chedim till he is Mephaisen. According to the Mishnah, each patch is Messiah Zuz. If it's a ksuba value, it's $18,000.
I called it Rav.
Calls me up, Matzah Shabbos. He says, this guy patched me, I want to come to the Bezdin.
What is much?
A slap.
Why did the guy slap him?
Because his name is Reb Moshe, let's say, and he said, "Was machst du Moshe?" Call me Moshe? Slap. A lot of witnesses saw this. So I said, I couldn't, and I told them, we can come. They didn't tell you we sent one money. He's leaving that so too. They said, you can ignore for his money. I told them the best thing to do is go in the morning in the shul and take his talis and film. Then he's gonna come. He's gonna come screaming. Just take dollars and film. To me, it's amazing always. I don't know what it is.
The goal of taking the Talis is to get the guy to
Take a mashkin. Now come to Bezdin. Bezdin should be shad. Really, if you follow the Mishnah, you probably have to pay him about $20,000. But $20,000 per $12,000 per slap.
12,000 per slap.
Yeah.
Fight for the new slaps he gave him for taking 1,000 film.
But the Shulchan Aruch says, Bezdin says you should buy, but take the talis and tefillin. Why the talis and tefillin? You take a mashkin. I don't know what it is. When the people are right, they're the least that want to take the law in their hands. I don't know what it is. Yana can give you 2 pair. I'm not going to take his talis and tefillin. I don't know. I told him, if I am a Rav, I would have taken his talis and tefillin if he would have done it to me. I have no qualms about it. I don't know. He didn't want to do it.
So I'm curious if he took the Talis and Tefillin.
They took a mashkin,
And
we
then
learned
he came
it.
in front of you and said, "Oh, this guy slapped me. Here's his mashkin."
Yes, then we said, then I would tell him you should give him another few talis and tefillins. You know what I mean? Probably has to pay him $5,000, I would have said at least.
For both, make out a shot.
Yeah, make it shorter, $5,000.
$5,000.
Because Shulchan Aruch says he should hurt. The guy doesn't have money. He's a mishloach, so let him cost him $5,000.
Go to someone again, take you twice.
I was gonna say.
They do that, what do you mean? They have people who do that for us, they go and sue,
That's called insurance fraud.
Yeah, but it's done.
Anyways, Bekitza, so I don't know, I find out in Choshe Mishpat, I once told a guy, Chabad guy, Shliach told me, Choshe man, he gave someone loan $3,000, a Chassidish guy, he doesn't pay him. Tell him, I'm telling you, come Shabbos morning in the mikveh, take his stramo. He doesn't, I told him a few times this. So he says, I can't do it because I don't care. Bring it to my office. Knock in my office. Put it in my office. He doesn't do it. Can't do it. Yet not paying. Who knows how long he's not paying him the money? I don't know what it is. I don't understand why.
Afraid they're going to come back with the cops.
No.
Fuel might strangle here.
Do other Rabbanim generally rule like this? I mean, say if we're not going to, we're going to see someone does this and they get taken some random Rav.
Random Rav don't. All due respect, most Rabbanim don't know Choshe Mishpat at all.
Right, so I think that's the fear.
Yeah.
So most Rabbanim don't know.
Yeah, but he doesn't have to Rabbi. He has to go to someone else Choshe Mishpat. That's it. He has right to the man. I want to go to someone Choshe Mishpat. Most of the Rabbanim don't know. But I've seen this over and over again. The first time I was shocked when we talked about sex abuse with children. You're not going to police it. It shows they never learned Choshe Mishpat and they don't even know what, you see very often, the Rabbanim just, they learned a little bit, you're not allowed to maser, that's how they get stuck with these things. I want you to quote the Rashba. Very happy someone called me up from Chabad, the Rav, where the Rashba is last week. And he told me he heard it probably from here on the tape. The Rashba says in Siman Kif Pei Ches, Yosef brings the Rashba, if law and order will be with Adam, there would never be law and order. No Ganav steals in front to Adam. No one sexual abuses a child in front of to Adam. You know what I mean? Wait a minute, to Adam. They always do it, when no one is around and, sneak in. You can't have, there would never be law and order. Right? Benjamin, how many people kill in front of two Edom? None.
Unless it's a gang shooting. But other than that.
Yeah, besides, it never happens. No one shoots in front of two Edom. And doch mit Asruhe. There has to be Tochke de Dibber. Says, that doesn't happen. You can't have it. It's very important to know this. It's very, very, very important. So you can't let it go to the authorities. So we'll never have law and order. Okay, let's just move on. Zug the Remu. Then he says, now the Relution Haramu is very difficult. So let me tell you about Peh. It's a big mechloikes achronim, and the Shulchan Aruch is very, very machmer here. Now let me just tell you the Meskuna because it's going to be a little bit confusing. The Shulchan Aruch says a Meire de Gechidish Rabbi Sai. He passed in the famous Gemara. Let me tell you Gemara in Brochus. The Gemara says in Brochus that if Huna, all his wine went sour. Many of them stuff. The Gemara says a story. If Huna had 400 barrels of wine that went vinegar, sour.
It's not the wife that broke them all, no?
No, that was Nachman's wife, Reb Nachman. Had Yaltza, that's a different lady. Rav Huna had a barrel, 400 barrels, and wine, and became sour. And they came to Menachem Oversor. He lost all his money. And they said to him that maybe he did an avla. What was the thing that he did? He had a sharecropper. The sharecropper took his more than his chelik by the fruit because he wasn't around. Let's say sharecropper is supposed to take a 25%, whatever, and he took more. So he came to divide the sticks, the wood, the other chelik. The Finna didn't want to give him. You took already more than your chelik. Okay? So they said, this is why your wine became chaymitz. So the question is, the mitzvah the chassidus or not? The Matcha learns that's halacha. That means Amida de Gechidish. Reuben stole something from you, and he already doesn't have it. The wine was drinking, or he sold it. Now I have a chayfetz from him. Reuben stole from me, stole my iPhone, and I have a piece of jewelry from him. I says, I'm going to hold on to the jewelry. I have it. But you know what the Gemara always called the ficha metaru salamali. If you ever learn Babasa, that means why should I give you the money? You should give me back the money. You owe me. You took more than you stole my iPhone. You owe me $500. So I found I have a piece of your jewelry, and we call it a wash. The Ramuz says that's what the Shulchan Aruch Pasuk. You're not allowed to do that. You have to have a bezdin to tell you that you could do that. You cannot hold him. You have to give it back to him and come to bezdin. Because he's really the owner. That means, why don't you say Don Dina Den Afshe? This piece of jewelry, he is the owner of it. He just owes me $500 because he stole something.
Would that same logic extend to a woman who's getting divorced, who takes her husband to secular court and steals half his...
She's Tamaganov. Yeah, she's a
Right,
Ganov.
but I'm saying that at that point, then after that, she's got it, but then the husband has sometimes the husband will withhold the get as a result, right?
He's allowed to do that.
Why would we say like this? Hey, you're holding what is
So
that?
very good.
Like,
I'm so happy you
Give him
reminded me.
wine.
I'm so happy you reminded me. The Beis Meir in Hilchas Gittin says, even a bigger chiddush than this. I'm going to have to remind myself. Beis Meir in Hilchas Gittin says that's called Don Dina Den Afshe, because the only way he's going to come to din, and maybe according to the Shulchan Aruch Takanat, but no, even according to the Rav, because the only way the guy is going to come to din is by holding back the get.
That's not what it's not about the only way. It's two different things.
Yeah, but the lady's not. Let's say nowadays, the lady's not going to come to din Torah. She's never going to give it back. She's not going to give it back. But
she already doesn't have the cash.
Yeah, so she.
All the way to the bank.
Yeah. So, well, I'll tell you why it's even according to that. The Shulchan Aruch adds a word. The reason you're not allowed to do it, because that chayfetz belongs to the person. That piece of diamond belongs to the person. I'm stealing the piece of diamond. Only Bezdin could tell me I'm allowed to steal. Here, she wants a get. No, she wants a get, right? That's it, she wants a get. I don't have to give a get. It's a mitzvah to give a get.
It's a negotiation.
It's a negotiation.
Is it the difference between a Mike Smith or
No. It's not that way. Here, the object belongs. The Shulchan Aruch learns it. It's just like it looks like gezel. it looks like a shekel gezel. You know what I mean? The object is really the person, the diamond. You're taking away. You're guzzling the object.
So you can't take it actually. You can only
Even if I have it,
You can't keep it.
you can't even keep it. That's
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm trying to clarify. Is the Rav saying you can't keep it, but you could take it? Like you're saying, take the guy's strap on the mikveh, you can take it, but only as
a mashkin. Yes, you could hold as a mashkin, right? You could hold as a mashkin. That's true. Do you mind? Get me the Shulchan Aruch Chelik Vov. Is that?
Why do you should little notes back and forth on this?
You need a bezdin to do that. You need a
It can be done yourself?
no.
You can't take a stripe and sell it for what you.
No, that you can't. You could only use it as a mashkin.
Can you wear these triangle while you have it?
No.
A mashkin is you can't. Mashkin you're not allowed to wear. You're not allowed to use it. So no,
Yeah.
you can't use a mashkin. But the Beis Meir clearly says, and that's Simonim, I think it's given in Dalet, says Mefurish, the husband is allowed to hold back a get als dan dine the nafshe. And this is a thing that many Rabbanim don't know. You can look it up. If I'm tired over here. You want to break me also, Even Ezra? So sorry. So anyways, he says als geneva. He calls it a ganov. Doesn't add more. And this, what you just said about a get, I think it's kifn and dalet. It's supposed to be over here. There's a furish in the poskim that you're allowed to hold back a get. This is very true. It's over here in Kifnun Dal. The Pischachur quotes the Beis Meir. You're allowed to hold back a get if she doesn't want to give you back the chafetzim. Looks like she stole some chafetzim from him. She ran away. She stole the svarim. He brings down. So if he doesn't want to give back, he says it's okay. It's done dina denafshe.
But if she took only her ksuba, you never gave it to her. She only took her ksuba. So she
Yeah.
takes $10,000 from the bank account and she walks away. Can you
Well,
say
before
before the get was given? Can you say, "Tell me now, I don't have to give the get, then you pay me back." And I'll give
Well, the ksuba, well, the bezdin has to pass him. The bezdin would say that that 10,000 ksuba, then you would have to give a get. But very often, it's very unfortunate because when the modern Orthodox are the ones who are aguna. Not everything is aguna. Chazal didn't want you to get divorced. I have a case downtown. The reason she left him, they're arguing. So he says, "Why don't you go for help?" Well, she doesn't want to go for help. Nothing. She spoke to me. We argue a lot.
Maybe he has bad breath.
She could have said that. Could have said a lot of other things. And then he said to me, we argue. And I asked her, we should go for help. And they said, well, it's childish. It's very childish. They have 2 children already. Well, it's childish. Mom's childish. But, and if he's not going to give a get, he could say, I want shalom. People think that if it's not an aguna, Chazal didn't want you to get divorced quickly. It's very, very clearly. Anyway, so coming back over here, that's true. That the place can say that you're allowed to hold back a get, like you just said. If a lady takes away half the money, he's not mechuyev to give a get. Okay. Now, so This is that the Shulchan Aruch, the Remu brings two shittas about it. The Rav is very machmer. V'yeshom dafken b'choyv mamish, only choyv, av m'chayv loy beloy alavua, without alavua, shein tzurich loy melamashkenoi, ki kvar etzel bebekuda, a motzi v'ada mitar otovsay. The Remu doesn't pass in that way, and the Rav passes the Chumrah. I mean, you hear the Remu, going to the Remu, you're allowed to grab the chayfetz. Guy owes me money because he stole from me. I see his chayfetz by you. I'm allowed to steal it from you, take it away from you. You understand? He stole from me and he has his object by you. I'm allowed to go to you and grab it away. We don't pass in that way. The Rav at least doesn't pass in that way. He doesn't even bring down the machloikis. V'yeshom and drovin du dafshe rak b'chayfetz hamavur oni ba object she gozloi or rutzela gozloi. That's what I just said. Only when the guy wants to steal, or roitzela zikoi. He wants to hurt you. Yuchalatzel shaloi. Our kind is chayloi mekoich gzeila. He stole it. Oy mamukem achar. Then lo, you don't say don't din the nafshi. Meaning to say you can't take something else. This is what the Rav paskins. You can't take something else. The object himself I could take, but take something else I'm not allowed to. Okay. Anyways, so you could the kids before you do it after this. I want to tell you right. It's the gay right now, but I'll tell you a story so you'll understand the story from that. Someone, a guy who many years ago, like in our community, there was a rabbi who owned a lot of people money. So someone asked me, can I take the Sefer Torah? He has a Sefer Torah. He owes me a ton of money. And I said, yes, Al Pi Halacha, the Sefer Torah is in Shiurim, you can take it. He never took the Sefer Torah. It always amazes me, these things.
You can take Sefer Torah that's on loan to a shul.
Yeah, you could take the Sefer Torah that's known for a shul, yeah. Well, yes, probably yes.
It's a valuable object, I put it in the museum, I can go to the museum and take it to the museum.
I don't know how the Hilchas Museum goes, but
I'm just giving you an
yeah.
example. There's a third party.
Yeah, it doesn't make a difference because the only question is.
Unless if it's the Rav's Torah, that's one thing, but if it's not his.
It is his. I'm talking about his Torah. He had a private Torah. He had a Torah right there. Not talking about someone else's Torah. Not the shul raised money for the Torah.
I understand. The shul, people loan their Torahs to the shul.
Yeah, so that's I'm talking about not that. I'm talking about the Ploini Al Moini happened to be a rabbi, and Ploini Moini happened to have written a Sefer Torah for himself.
But he didn't have his home, right? He
Yeah, in the shul.
had no shul. So he can't go into his home and take it.
No, but you can take it in the shul, take it.
That's like a private residence.
Group control.
Shul is not a private residence. I don't hear what?
It's like taking someone's children. Exactly.
Right? But it's to my amazement is he didn't ever did it.
Would that have, even if taking the Torah away means there's no Torah in the shul?
Yeah, no, so the daven another minyan in the shul. And this question, what he asked, is discussed in Shulchan Aruch, nothing here, like about the halachas. If a guy gave a Sefer Torah and there's no other Sefer Torah, so it says, if there's another minyan, they're not going to daven, true, but if there's another minyan, and today there's enough svarim they could borrow from other places, Sefer. It's not like we used to be short of svarim.
Did you ever see somebody do that?
The guy didn't want to do it. Why? I don't know. It's always the bad people have the chutzpah and the nice people don't.
Losers.
No, they're not happen to be not losers because they're very wealthy. I'm talking about people in my community. I'm an incredible matzliach, but I don't know what it was.
You phone up the guy and say, I have your strangle and
And it's on an.
I don't. You don't have to. I want to tell you something. He doesn't have to call him up.
well, he's going to know that you have it.
He'll tell someone to hint to him. Don't worry. He'll get the message. One guy, 25, 30 years ago, did something else. A guy owed the money, he refused to pay him. He stole his pants in the mikveh.
Oh. Write me a check.
True story. And he didn't tell him. He didn't tell him who stole it. Guy can't find his pants. There was no cell phone then, so I remember he was screaming, and we got nervous. Someone got hurt in the mikveh, and he comes in. He said, "I don't have pants." We thought they thought it was a mistake, and then it turned out he owed people money, and one guy just decided to finish.
Just his pants or his other garments as well?
Just took his pants.
Okay, that's so bad. That'd be worse.
So how did he get home?
I don't know, someone bought him another pair of pants. Now, the idea, let me just say, the idea is it's a public place. He was allowed to take his pants. It's a public place that says mashkin. See, we look at it guy, such an avla, took his pants away. But no one looks at it, the guy owes money, or he borrowed money and the shloim has to pay, or he lied to the guy. That's not so bad. Taking away the pants. I don't know. This is a question in a social.
I think it's because of the social stigma, because I think half of the community jumping up in arms, screaming about how someone takes someone else's child or send it there.
I told him, I'll back him. I always tell people, I'll back you. I'll get up in public and say that you had a full right to take the shtramo. Okay. One of the wealthy people told me he stopped giving loans many years ago. They used to give big loans in my shul. And he said that one guy, he has a house, refused to pay me. He said, why don't you foreclose the house? Because he had a note, a legal note. He says, what are the people going to say in town? There's the big oisha took away his house. So he didn't take away his house. He's not living on the street. Let him rent. Like you said, the stigma, they didn't want to foreclose the person. People don't know that you owe a person money. You're not, unfortunately, you're not going to have manucha in the next world till you pay him back. You have to come down. It's I don't think anyone wants to come down again. I surely don't want to come down again.
You're done?
I hope I'm done. Okay, let's move on. I told you, unfortunately, I've seen people get going to do this dirty work. You're not allowed to. I know about, no, not the Strammel. I remember in Borough Park, there was a lady who didn't want to take a get. The husband he had no patience to go get the head to Meiribonam. He had an Italian, she came home from work, he had a pail of water, took cold freezing winter, poured her from head to toe with water, and next week she arrived and she took a get. When I heard it first, I said, that sounds cool, but the Maisa, it says in the Remu, you're not allowed to do it with the guy. You don't say don't do such a thing, even though she was lahachas not giving a get. She didn't want to go back. I remember the story. She didn't want to go back then, but she just wanted to not give him a get. You're not allowed to do it with a guy. It says in Furish. So to me, im uvav usal de goyim, im lo yuchaloit sishloi binach mashu usi. There was no other way to do it than what he did with it. Yesh omrem, the loy mikre uve dina de nafshei, ikshemazik lechaveiroi, kon shemakei. That's done. Lo yuchalaso is elikem yuchalava. The mikre de nafshei elik shemazik lechaveiroi. This yesh omrem is a big machloikas. What yesh omrem say? A huge machloikas. And the Rav took his position of the Remu is not saying much. All the Remu is trying to say over here that the ikadin nafsh is by a guy wants to hit you, steal something from you. The other things is based on the halachas later. Understand? Not right. So that's why this Remu is confusing. A big machlek is how to learn the Remu. This Remu is coming to tell you that the opinion says don't nafsh only guy wants to hit you, wants to steal from you, but not any other case. Okay. Kegon shemakeri. Geen leugelas is elik leugelar shishloi. Aber tvise baum shtovel mash leugelas bechol inyan. Clear. The yored achkach imeladin. Chose mare be yuchenege yuchet. Now this is very interesting. Aber Rabben. Aber yuchenege Rabben he b'nei ir of the din in the nafshe miyodn shadin emuam. There's a chivas marik. There was a big machloikis, a piece of property. The shul owned it, or it belongs to the guy claimed that it was his, and they claimed as stam a dreikup, stam. So they could don't in the nafshe. They don't not let him come into the place, and the guy was going to build. But Rabbim, they also so we say this. You can't go to the local bezdin. They'll negate this. Okay, this really comes up. That means a machlekes is in a public domain and a private person. So but the public has the right to don't dina the nafshe. It was such a nice thing in the good old days that there was a kehillah, people had to go to Torah. Today it's unfortunate. People call me all the time. Guy tells me the other day, it's part of making business that I lose $5,000. This guy doesn't want to pay $5,000. This guy doesn't want to pay. It's a terrible thing sometimes. I told someone the other day, just like I see the Kronites has a watch, what's it called? The watch, whatever it's called. Neighborhood watch. To have something like that. They should have a the same idea. Someone doesn't pay his debts, put his name up. Don't do business with him. They used to do it. The Kunis Arbarutzes used to be there. You know, there used to be at Kunis Arbarutzes. They used to announce between Shtabach and Baruch Hu, Ploini Almoini doesn't pay his loans.
Is there a privacy issue with that, with legal law?
Now, who's from Toronto? You're from Toronto. You know, Rabbi Shlomo once told me there was a guy, a wealthy guy in Toronto, who refused to pay. He borrowed a lot of money, refused to pay anyone. And there was a lot of people on money. So he went and he got all the yeshivas. You know, he first he sent to the yeshivas, but he went ahead, how you say preemptive? He went to the Chabad, there's a Chabad Cheder there too, right? He went there and he spoke to the Rabbanim that we're going to throw out his children from school. And Mamela, he's going to run to Chabad. Do me a favor, don't let his children into the school. The guy doesn't pay his loans. So they send the children home. And the guy ran from school to school, no one would take it in. All of a sudden, and boy, did he start paying his loans. That's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to do that. Guy doesn't want to pay his loans, and they knew he had money. What's that? If the guy doesn't have money, he doesn't have money. You're not going to get anything. But he got a big house, sell the house. He had a huge house. You know the story? You know who it was? No. That happened approximately 8 years ago. So,
I've been here for 10 years.
But anyway,
What about in the case of a maser?
The what?
In the case of when someone masers, you do the same thing with his kids in the school?
I explained, you were not here last week? I explained it last week. There are two shittas in Shechona Yeridea. One, the Marimu says, this happened, this is a true story. This Dweck and the East Coast, his wife picked herself up and she went to live in Baltimore. And there was a big fight in Baltimore. The parents didn't want the children to come to school, the local cheder. So they asked Shmuel Kamenetsky, and he said they have to let the children. So the people here in town came out screaming. When Shmuel came, I should confront him. I told him I didn't have to confront. It's 2 days in Shulchan Aruch. You know, the Ramah says you throw out the children, and from a Musa and a Malchin, you put them to Chayrim, and the Taz says, what the children, what were their chayte? Children the Taz. What are the children out of fault? But you know, the reason B'Shas Masa, that's how I explained it. Afterwards, I thought even more. This guy, I was told, is a crazy guy. You know, I hate to call evil people crazy. You know, I mean, evil is evil. He's an evil guy, but not every crazy guy is evil. But they say he's also crazy besides being evil. You know, we in America give labels to everyone. He was abused as a child. He has unsettled anger. Like he doesn't have free will. You know, I always tell Ben, I told you, Ray, more than once I tell this to people, say some of the molesters no free will. It's amazing. They never do it in the middle of shul. They always manage to wait till the corners the child and no one's around. The Yetzer Hara comes in the middle of the shul too. But he manages to control himself, never to do it only when... the guy, anyways, coming back, what was I saying? I was told that he's Stama Meshugana. Besides that, he's evil. Meshugana. So, like, you're not going to gain by throwing out his children from school. What are you going to gain now? He's not going to stop mastering. He is a crazy guy. He mastered his uncle, his brother-in-law. You know,
What about the guy in LA where there was like a big tumult about people marrying his kids or whatever? Like, you say someone should be Masada Kedushin at the master's kid's wedding because, you know, he that whole thing?
Yeah, he asked this. I asked the rabbi. Rabbi, what's his name? Got his name from Bet Jacob. I asked him. I confronted him. He asked his Rabbi Shechter. He told me. He said, "What?" From YU. He said, "I asked my rabbi, and he says it's not a problem." The halacha, he's right, because what is an adult person? What is it's not a child and he needs his father. You know.
Yeah, but who's paying the wedding?
That doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
So you're saying, if anything, the children we can harm more than the adults?
Yeah, because it's his achrayas.
Is it anything on achrayas if a grandfather with a grandchild? But he pays for his tuition. Can we kick him out of school?
No, see, the whole idea was to put pressure on the person. This guy couldn't care less. So the children don't go to school. He wasn't living with his wife. He's a deranged person. You know what I mean? If by not letting his children into school it would help him, the case, then you should do it. You know, it says in Shulchan Aruch, you don't sell him meat. In the Chosh Mishpat it says you don't sell him any meat, you only sell him bread and butter and water, and to put pressure on it. And in Manchester, there was this guys who went to meet, I can't pronounce his name, from Iran, the president from Iran kissed him. Yes. So the guy, this Meshuggah Goham, who went. So the Rav of Manchester is a tough rabbi, and he put a chedem on them, and they asked him what they're allowed to do. He says, you should only sell bread and water. Not to sell any meat to them, not to do nothing.
Is it in Turikata?
Better than red also. But this is man, I don't know what the Turikata, whatever they are, they're crazy. But the bottom line is that puts pressure. They moved away. A guy told me, one of them moved away to Vienna. Ran away because he couldn't, they wouldn't sell they wouldn't attack him, moved away from They were very happy to get rid of him of the community. So that only helps to put pressure. But this guy, this guy Dweck, they say he couldn't care less that he shouldn't go to school. Okay. It says in Shulchan Aruch later, there was a lady, having the Shulchan Aruch later in the Hilchas Ebenezer, there was a lady who got divorced, the husband died, and she was teufus chafetzim, objects which there were people had tinus on them. So the Bezdin made a chedem, no one is allowed to marry her. She was a young almana till she doesn't come to Bezdin and settle what's her name. Put a chedem, that no one's allowed to marry her.
Who did they belong to?
There was a taina. It doesn't say what. There were people at tainas. That guy died, and he borrowed chafetzim, and he owed the money, and she took everything. And she, one of the biggest problems, the lady, we put up a sitter. What? You're not giving aliyah in the shul? What are you going to do? What exactly do with the lady? That's one of the problems. So they made a chedem that she can't get married. I mean, this is the early kadmonim. The Ramur already brings down. So I don't know when it happened, but that's what they did. And it worked. The chedem worked. People will listen. And put enormous pressure. Okay. Right. Zug der Move yesh chalikim v'tanas b'neiim halkun ikru mechzukin legabe yuchid. They call the muchzik. Zuchrusen mashkin kodesh shedim redin. There's such a concept we're going to learn in Chashmish, but the guy's muchzik, you can demand a mashkin before the din Torah. We're going to have a whole arichas about it later. But hen ikru mechzukin legabe yuchid davke b'yuna missen. That's only the mass.
What do you mean muchzik?
The tzibur is called the muchzik, and before we go to the Torah, you should put up the money, put a mashlish the money, give a mashkin. That you're going to listen. You can demand that. The tzibur has the right to demand from a person that we go to the Torah, put up a mashkin. He says, if there's a problem with other things, we don't say that. We don't say, let's say, have a machlikas about the property, such things. It's only about taxes that are machlikas. What does he say? Even though they're not called mirzukim by tzibur. אבל אם תלמוד חוכם, שתרוס המוסיה שדים בזמח מסמיסם, אין צורך לוסה להם משכן, גן יקרו מחזוקים נגדוי. This is based on difficult Gemara, Rabbi say, they're not called the muhzik legabe them. This is a whole long arichas. Mitter luke bin yunamissen al de goyim, to pay taxes, ilav sidoi, nishar hem eine, yechoyle loitzmeni amas, bin yanacha. The local taxes that are a hard time. You should know that one of the hardest things the Yiddish people had in the ghetto to raise the taxes. They had to pay the government. And everyone kvetch, I don't have money. Certain people taka didn't have money. Poverty was great. Poverty was terrible. So, sometimes you didn't know. Maybe yes, maybe not. So you're a lot of force get going involved, pay the taxes. So, in this whole simon, I just want to say what came out from this whole simon, that if a guy wants to steal something from you, you're allowed to hit him. If a guy doesn't want to leave your house, you're allowed to hit him. And the only thing, but money-wise, if a guy stole something, you can't steal something back, you can take it as a mashkin. You could take his talis and fill him for a mashkin. Okay. So next sim is very easy. Next few simonim are very easy. Use ludim b'Shabbos v'Yontiv. You know how to sit in the Bezdin Shabbos v'Yontiv. Umar v'don dina din. But Bezdin did sit, but he evident the pasuk psak is a din Torah. That means you're not supposed to sit down Shabbos v'Yontiv. He says, "Ein dunim be'erev Shabbos be'erev Yontiv." Erev Shabbos you don't sit. You should know that part of sitting at a din Torah for dying has to be very calm. Because you have to be very patient and to hear everything that I have to say. You don't know sometimes which sentence he says could change the whole din Torah. I was just sitting out in Torah. One sentence the guy said changed the whole thing. Mamish. The whole story changed. Could have missed it. He didn't realize that he's self-impeached, you say in English? Well, he said something that it shows that he lied. The whole story. But you have to, when you're rushed, so Erev Shabbos Yontif, people are rushed, you're not allowed to sit. If Bezdin made a mistake and they called him to come Friday, not mechuyev to come. They delivered the summons Friday, Erev Yontif. They don't have to come, even though they put the summons afterwards. He doesn't have to come. Yesh mishikus that achshe b'zman hazeh dunim be'erev Shabbos ve'erev Yontif. Mishibitle malamdim. First time I learned it, I had no idea what this means. Then after learning more Chashmish, but you know what was the minig, Rabbi Yisrael? Let me tell you the Santa minig they had. There was a Dayan in the city, but a Dayan didn't want to sit alone. Friday, they didn't teach. So the Malamdim were off. So they had the Torahs Fridays always.
What, because the Malamdim would be also the Dayanim?
Yeah, there were two. That means he would be the expert in Choshen Mishpat. That's when you used to have the cities, an expert in Choshen Mishpat. But you need three, so you needed the Malamdim, the Rosh Yeshivas, whoever knew a little bit. He would sit with two people. So and so Mamela, they had no choice. Sunday they had no three people to sit. So the minig was that Friday and Erev Yontiv they would sit.
Practically today, do Bezdin sit?
Friday, no one sits Friday. I said Friday because today it's a whole different world. Till we get someone to come to the Torah. If someone has the koyach to make a Bezdin Kvua, will be a great thing. But I can't imagine this to happen. But you have to raise money for the Bezdin. Just how I'll say it publicly. I'm very annoyed. Someone went to the RCC, wanted Azmana. They wouldn't send Azmana because he davens one of the person's shul. So what? So that shows it's a private business, not a Bezdin Kvua.
What does it mean because he davens in the shul?
It davens in Rabbi Besser shul. So the RCC didn't want to give us money for the guy.
Anybody davens in any of those shuls?
I heard it from two people.
RCC, where they get called?
That's what I'm saying. It's a private company. You should make another company. A lawyer came to me a few years ago. He wanted to make a mediation. I said it'd be a great idea. It's a good business. It's a very good business to be a mediator. He says a lawyer. And lawyers over here, the mediator. It's a big business. He told me. But that's the problem. We don't have a Bezdin Kvua. There's nothing. Okay, so anyways, he says, Yesh mikus achzman azedun be'erev Shabbos Yontif mishim bitl malamdim. But davkel in yemumen yesh lohukul, the hefker Bezdin hefker, aber du will isse ein lohukul. But he said, with Bezdin will have to sit sometimes to asa ishal bala, or all these other problems, that you can't do Friday. You cannot allow to do that Friday. So the Santa Zach, because it's a din, it's also din, Bezdin has to pass with kovid rosh, you're not allowed to do that Friday. Money, we could say, hefker Bezdin hefker. It's like a tanai. And not only davke derech krule pumim, aber ein kov Bezdin bershavet. It says, the Ramuz says we shouldn't have a kviyas that way. But the history does say, I've read it places, that there were places that had no choice. Ein kov zman benissam atisha, mishe'ene be'ir, luva ledin. You don't call a person a summons to come listen to Tishra. Mishe'ene be'ir, luva ledin. Avan mismino benissam atish luva achekach, konstanoi seloibu. You can send them a summons to come afterwards. That's what he's saying. Yesh omrim, the ein likbo beiseknese benissa v'lo yumeruam b'filim al b'nei kfurin shebula minyan. You hear Rabbi say? They used to have a shul and make a huge tumul. Ploini almoini doesn't pay his debts. You know why they did this, Rabbi Sai? That's the only, they didn't have credit rating.
That's what they did.
No credit rating. I've told this to more than once to people. If a guy comes to you for a loan, he's in huge trouble. If the bank doesn't want to give him a loan, then he's in bad trouble. The bank wants to give loans, and bank knows that.
Not anymore.
What do you say?
Not anymore, they want to give loans.
That may be for mortgages, but people, that bank, that's what the business they're doing. So the bank doesn't want to give him a loan, his credit is not great. Why are you giving him a loan? I don't mind giving him a loan, tell them. Make it secure, put a lien on the house. No, nothing wrong to a secure loan. It's a great mitzvah, it's a great mitzvah to give a loan, but be practical. Secure loan. Guy tells me, one of the wealthy guys, incredible wealthy guy, tells me that 20 years ago, a guy put on a mechanical lien on this piece of property. $180. He had what? He did plumbing, and the guy didn't pay him the whole thing. He knocked off. He told me himself, I knocked off $180. He's trying to tell me I was right. So he put a mechanical lien. He couldn't sell it. It was worth $4 million. Without, there's no mortgage in the house, he couldn't sell the property. So why did he come tell me this story? I love it when people tell me a story. But because the court says $180, 20 years. I don't know how much it is. It was an enormous amount. I don't know how much, but do you know how much interest there? It's 10%. A compounder. Who's quick at math over here? So it's 10% a year for $180. It was an enormous amount of money for 20 years. And not that this person wouldn't even know that he lost that money, but the idea, he won. This guy won him. So I said he's not allowed to take ribbis, but but you were not. Not allowed to do. You have to pay him your tatala. You know what I mean? Like it's amazing. Like $4 million house, you can't budge. Not a house, it was a business property. Okay, Yesh Omrim. Oh, this is why we talked about why they made in the shuls. And the Kuna Abarutz is that another thing. And the Yerid, you know what Yerid means? Flea market, right? The market is called Yerid. They would have a big poster hanging, who didn't pay his loans. I would love someone should do it on the internet today. It would be a great thing. Yeah, it's a great thing. It's a great service. Because I'm a Shiurim. What?
A message board.
It's a great thing what they did in Crown Heights. I give a lot of respect. One of the guys called me about the watch, and asked me a shalom to hear my opinion about something. And I asked him 100 questions. It's a great idea.
What do you mean a watch? Like a
Community watch? Yeah. That's on the street, the website.
In Crown Heights. It's very good. They should do it in Bar Park. They should do it in Williamsburg. It takes time to break through it's a great idea. People have to know who to be careful from. Same idea as, the same thing with a loan. That people, I watch this, will go from person to person, doesn't even know the guy owes, 100 people money. And, you guys are suffering from this too. I don't want to say names over here. If this guy would have known that he owes everyone money, no one would give him a loan. You know what I mean? Well, why should you give him a loan? And then when he crashes, you find out, you too? I was telling you true. You also gave him a loan? And if a guy sees he can't pay back, when learn HalachaSrs, many people don't know this. If you take a loan, you have no idea how you're going to pay back. It's just, how do you say in English, kicking the kettle. Kicking it, just, you're ganef. You know that? If you go to someone alone, you don't tell them the truth. Most often these people never say the truth. I'm short of money, but money's coming in next week, and the property I'm selling, and I'm short of cash, and it's always that way that they say. He's a mamish ganef. It's like going into the bank. There's two ways to steal money: with a gun and with your tongue. That's what it is. So if you later learn HalachaSrs, that's mamish ganef. If you're not on, you tell the guy, against the Torah, that's called a ganef. Okay. Anyway, so he says, "V'yesh omre de'inikba beis hakneses v'nisam le'murim v'ruim afila b'nekfun shebul l'minyan l'kavina zimin achar regel yesh t'chiyah v'demuas doing l'alter." But if person sees that You need it, they judge immediately. יש מקום שנהג שמסחיל אלודן קודם ניסה ותשע כמיניז מן אף בהם ואיכד נויג. When the minig is a minig. The Pesach Shir brings down the minig was not to call anyone to the entire Tay Nisan and Tishra even after Yom Tov. Bishlam before Yom Tov, we hear everyone is busy. How about after Yom Tov? Takes time to calm down. So the meaning was not to sit on the Torah, not to call anyone to after Nisan Tishra.
On the subject, the website post about people taking loans. The biggest issue with creating a website like that would be defamation lawsuits.
How about the website in Kronheit's web? Why is it not defamation?
Because they do multiple sources.
Okay, that's what it should do.
If I come and I say,
Of course, and
logically, if I come in there and go to a website that, this guy shows me money, and he's taking out loans, and they post his name up on the website, is he allowed to go, and it's not true, can he go and sue?
if it's not true, you can't sue. There's no such thing suing get paid Torah. But let's say it is true. He's on
So it's not true, he can't go to he can go to Bezdin and ask, can he ask Bezdin for remedy on that?
No.
It's vicious, this guy's got
Yeah, but
worldwide,
yeah,
I don't know why.
but we don't pay baishas on these things. Baishas on if you spit and
What's
assault.
stopping anybody from going on that line and saying? against
Yeah, but
the-
let's say we do it like the Crown Watch. They check the sources out.
Multiple sources.
Yeah, they check the sources out. They do a good job. They told me that it takes a long time, but they do it the same thing with loans. Today you could be, you check it out and you find out, and same idea. There are people who go from person to person. I more than once seen this. Usually, guys desperate for money doesn't just go to one person. Okay, let's just finish over here. No, they used to take the name off. The guy paid his debts.
But who sponsors the website? The guys that give the loans, or?
I don't know who created one in Crown Heights. Did a good job. Whoever does it, they did a great job. I was told it's a great job.
There is a website, or there is?
Not yet. That was suggested to me. It was a catalog.
I like Community Watch.
It's a very difficult thing, because you have to get a lot of people to come forward and say, it's easier in the show newsletter than it is on the
Yeah, no, it's true. It's true. But it's working. It's working. Okay. Ein dunen balayla. The tchil is then when I just finished the remur. Aber schile lune dinamun b'yoyim gomer balayla. If you start by day, you could. This is a draisa, you should know. You're not allowed to judge by night. Yesh omrim dim obrim b'layim din ein din. Okay, we'll stop over here. We sign.
Why can't you judge at night?
You're tired. That's Poshib Shat.